Welcome to Language Swap, everyone, a fun way to learn English. We are so excited to have you join us today.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Alex.
And I'm Sally. Today we're talking about daily routines in English, but honestly, the routine you plan versus the routine you actually live.
If you've ever set an alarm for 6 a.m. with genuine confidence and then negotiated with yourself until 7:45, this episode is for you.
By the end of today, you'll have real vocabulary for describing your actual life, not the aspirational version you tell people at parties.
Let's get into it, because I think we both have opinions on this topic.
Okay, let's start with the planned routine. The one that exists purely in theory. Walk me through yours.
On paper, I wake up at 6, meditate for 10 minutes, journal, then go for a run before work.
And what does that look like in reality?
In reality, I wake up at 6, look at my phone for 20 minutes, and consider the meditation app itself a form of meditation.
Considering the app itself, meditation, is such a specific kind of self-forgiveness.
I've made peace with it, honestly. What's your actual planned versus real gap look like?
Mine's almost the opposite problem. I don't even pretend to have a morning routine anymore. I just have a very efficient 40-minute scramble.
Walk me through the scramble.
Alarm goes off. I hit snooze exactly once. Out of principle, then I'm somehow fully dressed and out the door in a genuinely impressive amount of time.
That's actually a skill. Honestly, compressed efficiency under pressure.
I like to think of it less as chaos and more as a very tight, very reliable system. It just happens to start 40 minutes before I need to leave instead of 2 hours before.
Let's build the vocabulary around this whole idea then, since I think it's more useful than either of our routines individually.
Good idea. Hit snooze. Pressing the button that delays your alarm by a few more minutes. I hit snooze twice before actually getting up.
Roll out of bed. A slightly self-deprecating way to describe getting up without much grace or ceremony. I basically rolled out of bed at 7:15.
Get ready. A general phrase covering everything between waking up and being presentable for the day. It only takes me 20 minutes to get ready.
Throw something on. Getting dressed quickly, without much thought or effort. I just threw something on and ran out the door.
I want to bring up the phrase for when your actual morning completely betrays your intentions from the night before.
Oh, I know exactly which one you mean.
So much for that. Used when a plan clearly didn't happen the way you intended. I was going to work out this morning, so much for that.
That phrase alone could describe most of my mornings, honestly. And I say that with zero shame at this point.
Same, completely. Now let's talk about the actual workday routine, since I think that's where people's real personalities show up even more.
What's your actual work rhythm like? Once you're there.
I front-load my hardest task first thing while my brain still has some dignity left and save the easy stuff for the afternoon crash.
Front load. I like that phrase actually, putting the most demanding thing at the beginning.
Exactly that. I front-load my mornings with anything that requires actual thinking, very deliberate, very intentional.
My rhythm's a little different. I do a slow warm-up with easy tasks, emails, small things, before I can touch anything that requires real focus.
Warm-up fits that perfectly, actually like an athlete before the real event starts.
I've never thought about it that way. But honestly, that's exactly what it is. My brain needs a warm-up lap before the actual race.
What about the afternoon slump, though? Because I feel like that's universal, regardless of morning strategy.
Hit a wall around 2 p.m. every single day, without exception. Doesn't matter what I ate, how I slept, nothing prevents it.
Hit a wall, perfect phrase for that sudden specific loss of energy or focus. I hit a wall around 2 and just stare at my screen for 10 minutes.
What do you do to push through it?
Honestly, I just accept it now. Instead of fighting it, I call it my reset window, 10 unproductive minutes that somehow make the rest of the afternoon function properly.
I like that reframe, actually. Not wasted time. A reset window. That sounds so much more intentional than I stared at a wall for 10 minutes.
It's the same behavior, just better branding, honestly.
Let's talk about the evening routine now, since I think that's where the real gap between plan and reality gets even bigger for most people.
Oh, absolutely. What's your evening supposed to look like in theory?
In theory, I cook a proper dinner, read for 30 minutes, and go to bed by 10:30, calm and prepared for the next day.
And what actually happens in practice?
In actual practice, dinner is whatever requires the least number of dishes, and reading has been replaced by watching one episode that somehow becomes three.
One episode that becomes three. That phrase alone deserves its own dictionary entry at this point.
I think most people who've ever owned a streaming subscription understand that phrase instantly, no translation required.
My evening's honestly similar, except my version of one episode becomes three is I'll just check my phone for a second, becoming 45 minutes.
Doom scrolling, I assume, is the actual term for that specific trap.
Exactly the term scrolling through your phone, often through negative or unimportant content, well past the point where it's actually enjoyable or useful.
I want to bring up wind down too, actually, since that's supposed to be the opposite of doom scrolling.
Wind down, the intentional process of relaxing before bed, ideally without a screen anywhere near you.
I'm trying to wind down before bed instead of scrolling. A sentence I say to myself constantly, with mixed actual success.
I think what's interesting about tonight's whole conversation actually is that neither of our routines are bad. They're just honest instead of aspirational.
That's such a good distinction. My warm-up lap instead of jumping straight into hard work isn't a flaw. It's just how my brain actually functions best.
And my 40-minute scramble genuinely works. I'm rarely late. I'm just efficient in a way that looks chaotic from the outside.
I think the real trap is comparing your honest routine to someone else's aspirational one. The 5 a.m. cold plunge person you saw on social media, for instance.
Exactly that trap. Nobody's actually living the highlight reel version of a morning routine every single day. Consistently forever.
Let's cover a few more phrases for describing routines honestly, since I think that's genuinely more useful than pretending toward some idealized version.
Creature of habit, someone who sticks to the same patterns, order, and preferences consistently, sometimes rigidly.
I'm a total creature of habit. I eat the exact same breakfast every single day. That's genuinely me. No exaggeration.
Go through the motions, doing your routine automatically without much active thought or engagement, purely on autopilot.
By Friday afternoon, I'm basically going through the motions. Completely relatable, I think, for almost anyone with a regular schedule.
Fall into a routine naturally settling into a consistent pattern over time, often without deliberately planning it that way.
I fell into a routine of walking every evening, and now I genuinely miss it if I skip a day. That's such a nice example of a routine forming naturally instead of being forced.
Break the routine, deliberately doing something different from your usual pattern for variety or necessity.
We decided to break the routine and try a new restaurant for once. Small deviation, genuinely refreshing when it happens. I want to bring up something, actually, that I think ties this whole episode together in an interesting way.
Go ahead. What are you thinking?
Neither of us described a bad routine tonight. We described two completely different systems that both genuinely work, just built around different actual personalities.
That's such a good point. Honestly, my scramble and your warm-up lap look nothing alike, but they both get us to the same place, functional and on time.
Which makes me think the goal was never finding the correct routine. It's just finding the version that's honest about how you actually operate.
Exactly that. The 5 a.m. version works beautifully for some people and would be a genuine disaster for others, purely based on how their actual energy and focus work.
I think that's honestly a more useful takeaway than any specific schedule we could have described today.
Agreed completely. Vocabulary for your actual life beats. Vocabulary for an aspirational life you never quite live. Every single time.
I want to bring up weekends too, actually, since I think that's a completely different category of routine or lack of one entirely.
Oh, weekends are fascinating, honestly, because the whole structure just quietly dissolves for most people.
My weekday self wakes up at 6 with purpose. My weekend self negotiates with the concept of purpose itself around 10.
Negotiates with the concept of purpose is such a specific and accurate way to describe a Saturday morning.
It's genuinely a different person operating the same body. Honestly, same brain, completely different priorities.
I have almost the opposite pattern, actually. I wake up at the same time regardless. My body just refuses to acknowledge that weekends exist as a separate category.
So you're structured 7 days a week, no negotiation ever happens.
Exactly, though. What happens after waking up changes completely. Weekday me has somewhere to be. Weekend me has coffee and absolutely no further plans whatsoever.
Sleep in, I assume, is the actual phrase for what my weekend self attempts, with mixed results.
Staying in bed later than usual, specifically because you can, not because you need to. I finally got to sleep in on Saturday.
What about the phrase for when you had genuine plans for the weekend and completely abandoned them for rest instead?
Vegging out, relaxing completely, doing essentially nothing productive, often in front of a screen, guilt-free. I had errands planned, but I ended up just vegging out all afternoon.
That phrase carries zero shame, which I appreciate honestly. It's not lazy, it's a category of its own.
Exactly, and I think that's actually an important vocabulary distinction. Lazy implies judgment, vegging out implies a legitimate chosen form of rest.
I want to bring up something else actually. The phrase for finally catching up on everything you'd been postponing all week.
Oh, adulting, maybe, though that word gets used loosely for almost anything responsible sounding these days.
I spent Sunday adulting, laundry, groceries, cleaning, the whole list. Slightly ironic self-aware tone usually attached to that word.
It's such an interesting piece of modern vocabulary, actually, because it treats basic responsibility as a notable, almost heroic achievement.
Which, to be fair, some Sundays it genuinely feels like one.
Completely fair, honestly. I think we've all felt disproportionately proud of folding laundry at some point.
Let's talk about routines around food specifically too. Actually, since I think that's its own entire category we haven't touched yet.
Oh, food routines are so revealing. Honestly, what's your actual lunch pattern like during the week?
I meal prep on Sunday with genuine enthusiasm, and by Wednesday I'm ordering food because the enthusiasm quietly expired somewhere around Tuesday.
The enthusiasm quietly expired might be my favorite phrase you've said this entire episode.
Really does feel like a small private funeral each week, the death of Sunday's ambitious meal prep plans.
My pattern's actually the opposite, weirdly. I eat almost the exact same lunch every single day, purely because deciding is more exhausting than repetition.
Creature of habit, which we already covered, but somehow this feels like an even more extreme version of it.
It genuinely is. I've made peace with being predictable specifically so I don't have to make one more decision during an already decision-heavy day.
That's actually such a smart reframe, though. Removing decisions where they don't add real value to your day.
That's exactly the logic. Honestly, save the mental energy for decisions that actually matter and let the boring stuff run on autopilot completely.
I think our conversation today has genuinely proven something interesting, actually. Smart, capable people build wildly different systems, and almost none of them look like the idealized version from social media.
Completely agree. My scramble, your warm-up lap, the meal prep funeral, the weekend negotiation with purpose itself, none of it's aspirational and all of it actually works.
Which honestly might be the most reassuring message we've delivered in any episode so far. Weirdly enough, hidden inside a conversation about laundry and lunch.
Sometimes the best insights really do hide inside the most mundane topics. Honestly, routines, laundry, lunch, apparently the perfect backdrop for something genuinely useful.
One more thing before the word tour. Actually, the apps and tools people use to try to fix their routines. Since I think that's its own little universe of vocabulary.
Oh, the productivity app graveyard. I have genuine opinions on this topic.
Describe the graveyard to me.
I've downloaded at least 6 habit trackers over the years, used each one with real enthusiasm for about 4 days, then quietly abandoned it without ever officially deciding to stop.
Quietly abandoned, without officially deciding to stop, describes so much of modern self-improvement. Honestly, not just apps, specifically.
It really does. There's no dramatic breakup with a habit tracker. You just stop opening it one day and never really think about it again.
I do the same thing with to-do list apps specifically. I'll build an elaborate system for one glorious week, then quietly return to writing things on random sticky notes.
The elaborate system followed by the quiet return to sticky notes might be the most universal experience in this entire episode, honestly.
I think what's actually interesting here is that neither of us frames this as failure. Exactly. More just an honest pattern we've both noticed about ourselves.
Exactly that. The app didn't fail, and we didn't fail either. The system just wasn't the right shape for how we actually operate long term.
Which circles back to the whole theme of today. Honest self-knowledge beats borrowed systems that look great on someone else's phone. right, let's do our word tour for today.
Let's start with the morning vocabulary first. Hit snooze, delaying your alarm by pressing the button again. Roll out of bed, getting up without much grace or ceremony. Get ready and throw something on, covering the process of becoming presentable quickly.
Now, when plans meet reality, so much for that. When an intention clearly didn't happen as planned. Now work rhythm and energy throughout the day. Front load, putting your most demanding task at the very beginning. Warm up, easing into focus gradually before tackling harder work. Hit a wall, a sudden, specific loss of energy or focus.
Now evenings and winding down properly. Wind down, intentionally relaxing before bed, away from screens. Doom scrolling well past the point of actual enjoyment or usefulness.
And describing your routine honestly. Creature of habit, someone who sticks consistently to the same patterns. Go through the motions, doing something automatically without much active engagement. Fall into a routine, naturally settling into a pattern over time. Break the routine, deliberately doing something different for once.
Now, weekend vocabulary, specifically since it's such a different category. Sleep in, staying in bed later than usual because you can. Vegging out, relaxing completely and guilt-free, no judgment attached. Adulting, handling basic responsibilities with a slightly ironic, proud tone.
And food routines during the week. Meal prep, preparing food in advance, usually with initial great enthusiasm. Creature of habit, eating the same thing daily to save decision-making energy.
Your challenge this week, describe your actual routine, not your aspirational one, using at least 3 phrases from today.
And if your real evening involves one episode quietly becoming 3, you're in genuinely excellent, very normal company.
If today's episode felt more honest than the usual perfect morning routine content out there, share it with someone who needs the same permission to be honest about their own.
And if you've ever felt disproportionately proud of folding laundry, that pride is completely valid, and we fully support it.
Genuinely valid. Small competence deserves small celebration, even if the internet doesn't always frame it that way.
I think next time someone asks either of us about our morning routine, we finally have an honest answer ready instead of the aspirational one we usually recite.
Mine's officially 40 minutes of efficient chaos with exactly 1 snooze, out of principle.
And mine's a 10-minute negotiation with a meditation app, followed by an actual warm-up lap toward real focus.
Neither of those would go viral on social media, but both are completely true, which honestly matters more.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone.
We'll see you in the next episode.